Good morning, good day, whenever it is that you're watching this. How are you? Hi, David. How are you? Hi, Christine. Good morning, Gracie. Good morning, James. Good for you, James. You're still waking up on the sunny side of the dirt. I'm happy for you. Ryan, morning. So what's new? It is a lovely day. It is 71 degrees. Not bad. Not bad at all. I can't complain. But sometimes I still do. Isn't it great to see a driving video, Grant? I think I agree. Indeed, Twist Hellcat, indeed. And RIP, the United States of America, by the way. If this stream doesn't win an Oscar, the whole system is rigged. Yeah. It should win an Oscar. I'm acting like I have nothing to say. Well, Grant, you do have a point there. Sorry for sniffling. My allergies are killing me. Killing me. Or at least I think they're allergies. Pretty sure they're allergies because they're confined to the schnoz. And they have not seemed to spread to the throat or chestal region. Although it might sound like it, but it really hasn't. I don't have a bad cough or anything. Vundermoon K, hello. Hello to you. Am I sure it's allergies? I'm like 80% sure it's allergies. But I think sometimes I've had allergies that turned into something else. I don't even know if that's medically possible, but that's a theory that I have. Yeah, and that's the other thing, Peter. I usually get bad allergies mid mid to late September through November. Timothy Sheehy says no civil war, please. Okay, let's talk about something other than the Civil War on addressing Gettysburg. We could do that. Let's talk about music. Music is great. It goes like this. Do 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 wop 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 a dop dop a doo. That's what they call scat. But actually, music has a lot of different sounds. Bill says, "Thank you, Matt. Could use a drive around the battlefield today." All right, good. Then we'll do that. The tractor story, Grant. Yes, the tractor story. Well, long ago, it seems like another life. When I lived in the verdant fields of New Jersey farmland, we had a tractor. And, this tractor we would use for things around the farm. We'd haul stuff. We'd use it to plow fields and, just whatever. It was a great vehicle for many different tasks. And so we would use this tractor. And, I was a kid. All the neighboring farms, their kids, they were put to work by like 10, 12 years old, right? And here I am, I'm 13 years old. I'm like, Dad, please teach me to drive the tractor. All my friends at school have been driving it for years. They get to drive it down to, like, if they're going to pick up, extra something from a neighboring farm, they drive the tractor over and, please let me drive. So he's like, all right, fine. I'll teach you how to drive the tractor. Now, I already knew how to drive the tractor because I watched very closely and, unbeknownst to my dad, when I'd go to my friends' farms, they'd let me drive their tractor. But I couldn't drive our family's tractor, which I just thought was ridiculous. So, finally, he gives me my first lesson and everything goes fine. And he was actually impressed. And I go, well, I've just watched you for all these years. I paid attention. Okay, good. Then, second lesson, third lesson. It's like, all right, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I waited this long. You're actually really proficient on the tractor. And I was like, great. And then I ran into the house, up to my bedroom, got out my Webster's dictionary, and I looked up the word proficient. And then I came back, and I was like, oh, yeah, thanks, Dad, thanks. And from that moment on, I was put to work. And I rue the day that I ever begged the tractor, because it would be quite a while until we sold the family farm, and when I was 19, it would be quite a while before I stopped having to do all the work on the farm. And yeah, so that's my tractor story. I can't turn on the music. I'll get a copyright ding. 80s music is better than today's music. There, I said it. James, I really, for the most part, could not stand 80s music, even in the 80s when I was a kid. But you're absolutely right. I now appreciate it because as crappy as a lot of it was, their crap was better than the best music today. Thank you. Estella says, Ermiger, I'm all broken out in hives. My allergies are so bad, or bad to say the least. My head is fine, but my hives are from head to toe. It's so bad. Ugh. That sounds probably worse than the sinus headache I've been having for the last 3 days. Actually, it feels like it broke today, so it's not as bad, but I've also been pumping myself full of shit. I actually found, I took decongestant earlier in the day yesterday. Didn't really do much. Took Advil, and everything cleared up. Which I guess makes sense because it's an anti-inflammatory, and allergies, I guess, are inflammation. So I guess that makes sense. Jeff, good morning to you. YT, Ukraine. No, this is New Jersey. This is Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. This weather is haunting on this day. Just has that feel on this day. Well, I don't know about where you are. It's a little cloudy to be like the 9/11, but I remember it up in New Jersey. That's where I was at the time. I was up in New Jersey, and when my mother came knocking at my door saying that a plane had crashed in the World Trade Center, I assumed it was a very cloudy, rainy day. And I looked up, and the sun was beaming through my blinds, and I said, well, maybe there's just a break in the clouds. And I looked out the window, and it was a clear day. Clear day. On a clear day. And, it made me curious, so I went down to the TV just in time to watch the second plane hit live on television. Hello, 60-second. How are you? Grant, you don't want the singing? Fair. That's fair. Rise and look around you. I think we're going to go on the first day, and I think we're going to pay a special visit to the Peace Light. I think it's an appropriate monument today. So let's go to that. Shall we? Smart cars are the stupidest cars ever. Do you notice how everything today is the opposite of what it really is? Smart cars. What else? What other things are the opposite of what they really are in today's parlance? I'm not going to sing show tunes. On a clear day was as far as you're going to get. I think is that a show tune? I just know it from Sammy Davis Jr. I think it probably is a show tune. 60 Seconds says, doing well, thanks for the drive, even with the show tunes. I remember it was nighttime, and the late news said a small plane had hit a building in New York. Yeah, I remember that too. It was, the original report was a small plane. That's right, Grant, because my mother said that. She said a small plane hit the World Trade Center. So I was picturing a Cessna, right? Like not an airliner. And then I remember going down to the TV and sitting down, and I said, wait, what happened? And she said, I don't know. They said a small plane hit the World Trade Center. I was like, Mom, that's not a small plane. Like, look at the size of that hole. And then we looked closer, and then they started saying it was an airliner. At least the channel we were watching. James D. agrees. Peace Light, perfect thing to visit today. Estella says, I'm going to make a suggestion for the AG Live. I hope it's okay. Would it be possible for you to get someone on the show to talk about the new train? Oh, yeah. We're working on that, actually. We're going to do an interview from the train itself. We're going to take a little ride. We'll set up in the car and do an interview. Grant, how old were you when it happened? I was 42 when it happened, Grant. No, I was 20. Let's see, 2001. I would have been 23. Yes, 23. 22? No, I just turned 23. Are there any Gettysburg musicals? Not that I'm aware of. We should write one. That would be funny. "60 seconds" says 20. Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you for doing the math for me. Grant was in first grade. I don't believe that, Grant. I don't believe that. You're only 6 months older than me. You're not even younger than me. You're 6 months older than I am. So what you saying? See, that's the joke of Grant teasing me about being an old man. He's actually 6 months older than I am. And that's what they call Australian humor. And you'll see who you are. Garrick says, I was at the Pentagon on 9/11. Well, so is our guest on AG Today tonight. I didn't know that, Garrick's. Well, then we'll have to have you on next year. Just gonna pause right here until an automobile comes behind me, which it looks like. Yes, okay, good. Let's zoom in on that. It's a nice angle of the peace light. At the bottom, you can't really make it out, but it says, "Peace eternal in a nation united." How naive they were. Grant says, who was the guy who was hero in that day? Oh, that's Tom Canavan. Tom Canavan, he was up in New York. His story is amazing. Of course, he tells it much better than I could. When did we have him on? Was that? I think it was the 20th anniversary. It would have been 2021. I think that's when we had him on. You can go back and find it. It's what do you call it? Free. I don't know where it is. It could be on YouTube. It could be on Patreon. It could be both, but it is free. And it is a compelling story that he tells. But basically, he was in the North Tower, which was the one that got hit first. And as they were descending the stairs to get out, the second tower was hit, but they didn't know what was going on. They didn't even know what happened to their tower. But Tom was with people from his office, and he was, leading them out. And I do believe that the story goes when they got down to the lobby, there was, a little shopping mall there. And there was this little old couple shuffling along with their shopping bags. And Tom saw them, and he said to the people from his office, go on ahead, I'll catch up to you. And went to help the little old people. And just as they got out of the building, Tower 2 collapsed. Remember, Tower 2 was second to be hit, but first to collapse. The impact was lower, so it was more weight for the building to try to support. And it collapsed. And of course, he got trapped in the rubble. Kind of like a grace of God or hand of God type of a story there, because it was this like concrete wall that had fallen and would have crushed him had it not been for another structure of some sort for the wall to stop at, making a little void for Tom, and I believe it was a security guard, a young 20-something-year-old security guard. And they saw some light coming through and crawled their way to that light. And it was just a hole in some concrete with some rebar. And it wasn't a very big hole. And the kid was able to squeeze out. And in panic, he just fled and left Tom there. And somehow, I forget how, or maybe he didn't even remember. Maybe that's why I don't have this detail. But somehow Tom was able to get out. And when he did get out, he's looking around and he does not know what the hell he's standing in. He doesn't recognize anything. He didn't know the second tower collapsed. He didn't know, he knew something happened, but he didn't know what it was that was happening. And then he gets hit in the arm by something, and he looks over to see what had hit and bounced off his arm, and it was, I believe, a leg from a jumper. And so he starts making his way out, and he's encountered by a news crew that interviews him, and you can still see that interview. He's got blood streaming down his face. His scalp was pretty torn. And then I think an FBI agent or ATF agent, somebody comes along and whisks him and the news crew away. And he said he didn't realize what had happened until he got to the hospital, and they're cleaning him up and stitching him up, and he's looking up at the TV, and he goes, "What the hell is that? What happened?" And they're like, "That's what you just came from." And it's very disorienting for him. But he's told that story on the show, and we've, when he comes down and hangs out with us, we go to dinner, like I always ask him about it. It's like the Battle of Gettysburg. I just can't imagine what it's like to go through something like that and survive. So yeah, that's our friend Tom Canavan's story. I hope I did it justice. I think I got all the details right. The way he tells it, it was it kind of burned into my brain, or at least I think it did. We'll see if he watches this and comments. He'll let me know if I got it wrong. Estella says, "Thank you, Matt, for everything. I'm going to be the opposite freeloader of Barbara." I just love everyone. Yeah, thank you. It's whatever. You want to freeload, you freeload. I don't know. I have no right to your hard-earned money. But, if you freeload, keep it in mind that you're getting it for free. So you're things that bother you really don't bother me. Because, you know, you don't pay the cost to be the boss. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So that you have the right attitude as a freeloader. Humility and love. Beggars can't be choosers, right? Kevin says you don't see Tom here. Yeah, that's kind of his pattern. Like, he'll disappear for a while, and then he'll come back into the fray. I've noticed that too. A couple years ago, I noticed that, and then I realized after the next time he did it, that was just his pattern. Peter Zach said, I felt guilty freeloading. Well, that's because you know how much work goes into this and how many hours. And when you figure it out versus what actually comes in, it amounts to 16 cents an hour. I believe they call those slave wages. But I'm happy to do it for the freeloaders out there who feel they deserve the fruits of my labor for free. That's funny. So we're going to go to Culp's Hill. So tonight's guest was part of the rescue and recovery from the Pentagon. I met him at a business mixer that the Addressing Gettysburg Business Network put on back in, I want to say that was June. Damn, the summer flew. And we were just talking, just talking. And he told me, I don't know how we got to that subject, but he told me, that he had been at the Pentagon. He was part of the Maryland National Guard, and they went down to... Oh, you did not have the right of way, sir. I'm talking to you right there in front of me. Anyway, they went down to help rescue people and eventually, I guess, recover what they could. And so he is coming on to talk about that. And Harry, if you want to come on next year, just don't let me forget. And don't wait till September 10th to remind me. Gotta know earlier. Harry says, I was in the Prince George's County Fire Department, a firefighter EMT. First got there doing fire suppression in the courtyard and then got pulled for secondary searches. Well, then, yeah, we got to have you come on. And it was weird because I was going to college at George Mason in Fairfax, Virginia. So, but I was in North Jersey when the towers, on that day, everything happened on that day. So I remember watching the plume of dust and smoke from a hill in my town that got a view across to the, whatchamacallit there? City, thank you, I couldn't think of the word. And yeah. Oh, then I went back down to college a few days later, and we drove by the Pentagon to see what that looked like. And, the Pentagon, what's interesting about the Pentagon that occurred to me at that time was that no video, no television footage does that building justice. It is huge. It doesn't look very huge because it's not a skyscraper, but it is huge, bigly. And also the hole was huge. And I know part of the building collapsed around the impact point, but I couldn't believe how big it was. That was the thing that struck me. And the other thing that struck me was that Hollywood special effects people really get things right. And that really got me with the Twin Towers footage, but also with the smoke damage around the opening of the Pentagon, the way it was painted on the building. Not painted, but you know, the way it looked. It reminded. I was just like, wow, they really do get this stuff right in movies. You know, special effects sometimes. They still held World War II weekend at Ike's farm. Oh, I didn't know it was World War II weekend was going on that long ago. Why did I think that was like since 9/11 that came about? The turnout was insane as everybody just had to get out. Every time a fighter flew over, everyone cheered. Yeah. I remember the whatchamacallit, the down. I counted 8 hours my entire trip through New Jersey, down the turnpike, and that was both directions. I made a game out of it. I couldn't. It was like it was some kind of like post-apocalyptic feeling that you're on the New Jersey Turnpike, which is usually busy, not always dead stopped or congested, but it's all busy. New Jersey's a busy state. Nobody on the road. And then it was another clear day, and as I'm driving, I noticed the sky has no streaks in it. There are no planes flying anywhere. And again, for the East Coast between New York and Washington and Philadelphia, for there to be no airplanes is a huge, bigly thing to notice. It was very strange. Very, very strange. Is that Charlie? Who is that now? I thought that was Charlie Fennell. Grant, do you mean near or farsighted? I mean, I have been accused of being short-sighted. You're right, Hellcat, I do. Oh, Estella, I have been spraying for 2 days. In some cases, it seems to make it worse. I've been spraying with saline. I'm going to actually stop at the drugstore before I go to the office, and I'm going to get some Afrin. I try to stay away from that stuff, but I have to do a show tonight, and I can't be sounding like this. So I have to put my nasal health at risk for the sake of freeloaders such as yourself, who demand nothing but excellence from me for free. And that's what I'm going to do. Spend $16 on some Afrin for the freeloaders. No, I'm of course being very sarcastic there. But yes, I am going to get some spray. Because the saline, you know what the saline does? It works when I don't have a problem with my nose. It's good to just flush out the nose every now and then with some saline. And I do, and it's great. But when I need it to do its job, when I need it to clear me out, it don't do the trick. And I think that's because really what's going on now is not so much congestion with schnot, as they say, but oh, and I meant to show you the painting. Oh, they're painting the. Well, I'll do a special video about that when I'm feeling a little better, maybe tomorrow. Anyway, now I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, it's inflammation, I think, of the nostril tissues. The nasular cavity. The sinuses. You know, if you're across the street, there you go. Don't look at your phone. Oil? Who's putting oil up their nose? What? Who puts oil in their nose? Flonase, yeah. Flonase, because that's a steroid, right? So maybe I should get that instead of the Afrin. Well, you know what? I'm gonna need both, so I'll get them both. You know, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get Flonase and Afrin, and I'm gonna start with the Flonase, and hopefully that'll do the trick. Because I think you're right. Like, I think it's inflammation, not schnot, as they say. And you'll see who you are. Oh boy. I'm gonna get stuck behind the campers. So I'm gonna take you out to Giant, and I'll show you the beautiful care that is being taken of the historic land known as Camp Letterman. And by the way, just for the elephant in the room, what happened yesterday was a horrible thing, but I'm not going to preach about it because I've always tried to be the place you go to escape that, and I know sometimes I go on rants, but it's usually because I'm in a bad mood, and I'm not in a good mood today. All I'm saying is that you don't need to hear what I think about that. It's not going to do you any good. It's not going to do me any good. It's certainly not going to do the country any good. So I'm just going to say that there's other people who jumped at the chance, and I'm not saying this in a backhanded way, but they very quickly got on their channels and gave their thoughts, and I thought they had very well thought out, measured things to say, and I would say consult with them. And I basically concur. But if I were to go off, it would get ugly. Ty, oh yeah. Frank Drebin had such great lines. As Frank Drebin said, nasal spray is like taking a spoonful of Drano. Sure, it'll clear you out, but it leaves you hollow inside. I don't know if it's respectable, James. It's, I don't know what the word is. I'm just tired. I'm fatigued with everybody. And, you know, I'll tell you this. When I was 19, I started saying to people, I think we're going to have another civil war. And people would tell me I was nuts because they could only see, for whatever reason, they could only see civil war to mean men in lines with muskets fighting in farms. And I don't know why they lacked the vision to understand what the hell I was talking about if I understood it at 19 and these people were 30 years older than me. But I digress. There would be flashpoints along the way where I would say, see, we're getting closer. And then it started to develop in my head about what the sides would be, what the line in the sand would be. Not the line in the sand, but the dividing line between factions would be. And still people said I was crazy. And I'm sorry, but we've had a cold one for quite a while now, probably 10 years. If not 20, it's kind of apropos that everything happened right around September 11th, because I think that's kind of when it all started. We just didn't realize it. And it's heating up, and I am terrified for my country. I am terrified for the young dopes out there that think murder is a tool that is completely legitimate to have in your toolbox for political discourse. And I don't care what side you're on, those Boogaloo boys were just as moronic as these other people. You do not want it. It is ugly, and I'm afraid it's about to get really ugly, because the people who are about to retaliate have been waiting for this for decades. And I have a lot of friends on both sides of our stupid aisle that I love, and I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Okay, so I said a little more than I wanted to, but I'm going to leave it at that. Ty, I love the idea for the freeloader shirt. I'm going to get that. And I've got one of the tubes, the writing on the tube is going to say B. Schultz, and the other one's going to be E. Beard. Because they're the opposite sides, as Stella pointed out earlier. They're the opposite sides of the freeloader camp. The positive freeloader, who has nothing but love and encouragement, and the negative freeloader, who complains about things he or she gets for free. And they're going to be sipping Mai Tais, and there'll be beavers. They'll be floating in Beaver Lake. Okay. No, Kevin, that's not how. That doesn't work that way. You misunderstand. Freeloaders do not, subscribers and viewers do not make me a cent. It's ad revenue. And actually, the ad revenue went down 70% in the last year because it's something YouTube did. I don't know exactly what, but uh, a lot of the stuff I've been reading online is that, you know, this is something they do. So you have to watch ads. That's how that works. And most people skip ads. So the revenue from YouTube is if I just closed Patreon, for example, and tried to live off of YouTube, I'd live under a bridge. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So I do understand how it works, and I do understand that freeloaders, though it looks impressive to see numbers like that, that it doesn't make a cent. In fact, it could very well be that people who don't even subscribe and never watch more than one video have made me more money than people who subscribe and watch regular videos, just by the way the ad thing works. So I do beg to differ with you on that one there. Kevin, oh, Barbara, that's all right. We love you. Kevin says, I realize that where the money comes from at, but the viewer count attracts advertisers. Yeah, when you hit a certain number of 6 digits, probably, but I'm nowhere there. And I know what you're saying. But so like in the meantime, that's why we had to start the nonprofit, because we have to find real money to keep it going. Because I think people think it's always going to be somebody else who will do the helping, right? It's always, well, you know, advertisers will come along, but advertisers come along when you've got a lot. And so yeah, that doesn't work that way either. But I get what you're saying, Kevin. It's not, you're thinking of big channels, you know. JD will get an advertiser, I'm sure, if he doesn't already have them. Chris, Maury, you know, those are the channels that are going to get that because they're huge. Bigly. I don't know why I keep doing that. It's so annoying. All right, let's see. And by the way, I'm teasing the freeloaders. Again, like I said before, I'm not owed your money. If you can live with yourself, for me, almost killing myself many times a year from working long hours and getting no breaks, that's between you and your maker. That's not, I can't demand you join patreon.com/addressing Gettysburg for the second or first lieutenant level. You know, I can't, who am I? Who am I to demand that? How does it work with people that pay for YouTube Premium and don't play commercials? Oh, that's a great question, Harry, because I have YouTube Premium too. So somehow, and I don't know how this works, but somehow we get a piece. And by a piece, I mean a millicent. Because if you, what is it, $15, $16 a month or something like that? So somehow they figure out, from all the people that are subscribing that way, I guess if they're watching your video, I don't know. They don't see, YouTube tells you only enough, but they don't tell you the how of things. They say you get, you know, revenue from ads, and you get revenue from what was the thing you just said? Premium and everything. But they don't tell you how it's broken down, or at least not in a way that my feeble old mind can understand. Yes. Yes, Ty, you got it. How's the nonprofit doing, Peter? It's actually it's going pretty well. We were able to fund the tavern talks with an anonymous donation. I have some meetings set up with what they call moneyed people. We are slowly developing a plan and a team. You know, everything takes time, but I'm actually surprised that it's doing as well as it's doing for being as young as it is. So we shall see. We shall see. I've been watching big channels who make big money. The First Amendment auditors. Yeah, so politics makes a lot of money. General history does. I don't know, but I also other people tell me it's a crapshoot. Like some people with big channels have been like, yeah, I had my channel for years and I couldn't get more than 1,500 views on a video, and then I had this one video that went viral, and then now I've got millions um, of views, and so it's hard to tell, and so I've just decided I could drive myself crazy trying to figure it out, or I could just take that energy and put it into doing work that I would be proud of, and hopefully people will like it. And if they don't, well, then who cares? I at least was true to myself. Wonder Monkey says, I won't pay until I get a lightning storm drive. Okay. Um, no, premium doesn't show ads. That's the whole point of getting premium, Barbara. You don't see ads with premium, and you can if you're listening on your phone, you can like go into another app and it'll continue to play. See ya, see ya, Stella. Peter says maybe saying I have no legs. What? All right, there we go. Anyway, you guys have a good day. We'll see you tonight on AG Today. I know you're gonna watch to hear about what it was like down at the Pentagon. It's not going to be your typical AG Today. We're just doing only the interview. The whole episode will be devoted to our guest. I told everybody that I only want Bethany and Court in the room. So I told everybody else, stay home or go wherever the hell you want to go, but don't come in. I wanted it to be a quiet, intimate, non-goofy thing. And also, I don't know how well our guest, deals with it. He seemed to talk about it fine when we were, enjoying some cocktails, but it's a whole different story when you're telling it live in front of millions of people who have yet to discover the show. And so I didn't want to have an audience in the building for him like we normally do, because it's not a fun or light topic. And so that's that. So tonight we're not doing the whole rigmarole that we normally do. No breaks. And that's it. That is it. So you guys have yourselves a fantabulous day, and I'll see you later on. Oh yeah, you'll have to call next week, Barbara. Sorry. Yes, Kevin, 47, and in the midst of my second business venture. What's my third one? I don't know, but it sounds pretty pathetic to me that should have taken care of this 20 years ago. But I don't know, whatever. I think I get what you're saying. Amen to that, Twist Hellcat. You guys have yourself a great day. Grant says AG is worth every penny. It's an entertaining fashion and gives a chance to use my humor. There you go. Money well spent, Grant. All right. Take care.